Okay. Good evening to all of you.
Good evening.
Yeah, it would be nice if we can see all the participants. Yes. Because this would be useful for us while taking a picture also in between. Okay. Good evening to one and all. Good evening to our chair, Professor Sabu Thomas, Professor in Political Science, University of Calicut, Kerala, and also to our co-chair, Professor Dr. M. Uma Maheshwari, Professor and Head, Department of Politics and Public Administration, University of Madras, Tamil Nadu. We welcome you for this session, ma'am and sir. And I will be moderating the session, myself, Dr. Meera Rajiv Kumar. Today's session is all about the new outcomes in public administration and policy research. And we've been going through a lot of discussions on the new outcomes, the policy researches, and the sustenance of the policy, the sustenance of how the governance is, how the governance leads us to the sustenance and adaptability, and in the field, in the discipline of public administration. So today we are entering into yet another good session with different topics from different participants all over the country. So I welcome all of you, and I now request our chair to speak few words on this particular topic for the day.
Thank you, Meera. Thank you very much. And it is a great pleasure for me to join with Uma ma'am, Professor Department of Public Administration, Madras University. And we have a galaxy of academics in public administration from different parts of the world. This is actually the fourth day, and we are deliberating on various issues regarding to the new trends in public administration. Today, most of the I see that there are almost 4 papers, 4 or 5 papers. Yeah, they're dealing with the different aspects of administration, including ethics and accountability, then criminal women, then a paper on policy for social equity and financial inclusiveness. Then lastly, we have a paper from it's from Philippines, factors that affect employee retention among Filipino millennials. So it's going to, I think that's going to be a very interesting session. And as you know, one of the major challenges that the discipline faces also in the post-pandemic world is that the idea of the stage, the idea of the the neoliberal stage has been subject to a lot of changes. Maybe there are new aspirations, new demands. And when you come to the sea change of the changes in the discipline, we cannot go business as usual. We have to reimagine things, and we have to address the what and how questions of governance, maybe particularly in a low trust and high risk society. So after the pandemic, specifically, this has become a low trust and high risk society. And both the capacity and legitimacy of the state is being questioned against markets. So that means a lot of issues. Particularly, I would like to mention the failure of the neoliberal model in the face of pandemic. It has evolved a new paradigm that I would like to term as the prone state. It has questioned the traditional labeling initiatives in our theory and practice. Actually, the Tron state anticipates a large citizen base, which hopes for deliveries at doorstep. The public administrator is to be an Amazon boy or a flying prawn, providing service at anywhere, at demand, at any time. So that makes a lot of particular ethical questions. So I hope that the papers in this session will be going to address this kind of issues, and we are really eager to hear your perspectives. Okay, thank you, Meera. Hope that we will be discussing the things, summarizing in the end of the game. So this hope. Let us hope and wish a fruitful day.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
I think that for the time now, yeah, over to you, madam.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. May I now request our dear Professor, Dr. Uma Maheshwari, to speak on the present topic of new outcomes in policy research and the public administration.
Thank you. It's nice to join the session with the chair, Dr. Professor Sabu Thomas, and moderator, Dr. Meera Kumar. And also happy to be with the presenters, the academicians from various parts of the world, to deliberate on the topic that's given for today's session, and that is the new outcome. Well, I feel every day there is a change because administration, we have a lot of challenges, and to cope up with the challenges, we find there is an attempt on public administrators and policy researchers to cope up with challenges with adopting the right strategies. So I think this session will try to throw light as people who are youngsters and people who are really have done a lot of research in this area would realize that today government to governance, we are trying to reflect upon what is the role of the government. We're talking about weakening of the state, withering of the state, and whether the state is having any entity today. So what is the state mechanisms and what are the ways and means the state tries to reach the citizens through its very many programs and schemes, and they want to get a feedback. They want to have a cost benefit and cost effective analysis of what the government is doing to its citizens. So we need to have a multidisciplinary approach and not just confined with our topic. I think public administration gives a lot of scope to work with people from statistics, with psychologists, sociologists, with people from law. I think that is how we have to overcome the challenges by creating a need that we need to have a better outcome of our research, because we are now living in a scientific world or a technology world where we're talking about results, we are talking about the end product, and the government becoming more business, government more into the market. What it delivers to the people, we need to really measure it. We need to be sure about it. And I'm hopeful and I'm really looking forward to listening to all these participants as to how they feel, why they feel, and what they have to tell about bringing in a change in the outcomes of public policy, public administration and policy outcome. So I wish all the participants good luck. And I think I am really looking forward to listening them patiently. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. I thank the chair and the co-chair for their wonderful remarks for the day. And as they rightly said, public administration is a subject which is quite debatable also. There are a lot of topics which is quite debatable. And we have to face the challenges to bring out a good outcome. So saying these words, we will move on to the presentations. And I request the participants to stick on to the time that has been allotted to you. And shall we start, sir and ma'am?
Yes.
Okay. The first paper presentation is by Dr. Vijendra Singh Beniwal, Assistant Professor and Head, Government College for Women, Hisar, Haryana, India, and his topic is on revisiting ethics and accountability in public service and overview. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, good evening, everyone.
Very good evening, sir. Yes, you are audible.
Okay, thank you, ma'am, and warm good evening. Respected Professor Maheshwari and Dr. Sabu Thomas. So, as my topic is on ethics, so I would start with in 2023, in Hindi language, Netflix has this trial by fire. So basically this was based on Upar cinema fire tragedy. And the victim, they suffered for around 18 to 20 years. And still we fail to ensure accountability, in the real sense. And what about the role of ethics in, while providing services to the public? So beside this, we have plethora of cases in daily life, where whether it is, a post-op surgery in hospitals, eye hospital or somewhere else. And every time we are passing the bucks, who's accountable, whether our political master, bureaucrats, technocrats, and so on. So first, I have some, very invaluable big questions. Why and how did tragedy, especially human-made, happens? And secondly, who must, well, let me try to share the screen if I, yes. So then who must be held accountable for these gruesome lapses, and what kind of ethical behavior can be discerned in these cases? So let me start with ethics. Ethical conception, basically we can categorize in two broad categories, like maybe contemporary and antiquity. Like in our, epics such as Ramayana, Bhagavad Gita, like Indian, discourse is there for ethics. And Chinese, and in modern or contemporary, I can say Western, like Aristotle, Immanuel Kant. So basically there is two schools or two, I'll say, thought or broad, lenses to gauge the ethics. And one is ethics of duty, deontological ethics, and then ethics of results. So basically the first one is, it's the main question is who am I, what I'm supposed to do, what is my responsibility? Rather than the consequences of one action, we are focusing on our responsibility and accountability. Next, we have a hierarchy of ethics, and at the core is personal ethics. They varies person to person. Then professional, these are code of conduct, written, hard, written on black and white. Then organizational ethics. And obviously we are living in a social system or society. So everything's fall under this broad umbrella. So there is different, gazes for ethics. And well, these are, intersecting each other, because they are not like watertight compartment, and they are overlapping while we are framing our decisions, taking actions, or assessing the results or consequences. In public administration, especially there is two schools. One is rationalist and the other one is irrationalist views of ethics. In rationalist, the major emphasis on from Taylor onward on the reason and the science, Enlightenment era, especially they talk about okay, with reason we can achieve the desired results with responsibility and accountability. On the other sides, they are Dwight Waldo and March and Olson, who talks about everything is not rational. Even the irrationality is there in our action, decision making. And especially I think they have highlighted this through garbage can model, where decisions are just outcome of irrational meeting of different, uh, like choices, then, participants, opportunity, and decisions. So these are two broad framework to gaze or, to lens through our decisions, actions, and events. Then, this very famous debate especially in public administration, fairness and final debates. And this debate is, way back in 1940s. Like, okay, whether it's professional ethics or individual conscience, which framework should, be used in administrative behavior. Like I'm quoting one example here, like, ethics have very important role in our daily life. Like during the Holocaust, the concentration camp in Auschwitz. So if I'm not wrong, Rudolf Eichmann was the, manager of this Hitler concentration camp. And this guy, he was one of the most efficient in running the camp. But what about the ethics and values, like the goals? He was killing the people, like, in very efficient way, in a way like killing machines. So what about the goals? Like, basically we are there to serve the human beings. So toward whom the accountability, where is the democracy, where is the constitution and the other, values, rather than loyal to one person. And that's again, you are, working against the humanity. So these are, maybe the old questions or issues, but still they are very much prevalent in, present scenario. So reconceptualization of ethics, like, if we just in the center, I place the dharma, and dharma means like, these are our moral duties. So dharma includes all, and it's more comprehensive, whatever I depicted here. It's mean law, right view, righteousness, right intention, duty, ethics. So dharma is very enriched and very comprehensive, and maybe I can say, at the risk of sounding pedantic, exhaustive list that covers every facets of, like, our behavior, and embedding the ethics, responsibility, and accountability. Again, like, there are two, sides of the same coin, ethics and morals. So morals are, our personal or inner views about the right and wrong, and then ethics are external rules. They are given to us, the code of conduct or behavior, where we have to, test our behavior, our actions and results. So I'm, bringing back Dwight Waldo, his very famous book, Administrative States, in which basically he put, I think, 10 guiding pillars for ethical obligations, like the first obligation to the constitution of the land. And the second one is the law, and so on. Like, although maybe it's not very exhaustive, but this is very handy. Like, we have to take into democracy, profession, family, self. And if we, just bring these broad parameters, then the, actions of our, administrator or our, political bosses or our representative, they can be like, having every facets of ethics. So in conclusion, I must say, like, public administration should have a strong obligation to self, democracy, general welfare, and humanity. Because basically when we talk about this Eichmann problem, so all of these four, ingredients was missing. There was no general welfare, humanity, democracy, and responsibility toward the self. And the second, at the same time, when they should have the organizational and bureaucratic norms, these are the rules within which, professional code of conducts and behavior written, which they must have to adhere to make, administration more like, humanistic, and obviously having the accountability, responsibility, and ethical concern. So that's all from my side. I'm more happy to take any query or question. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Sir, Sabu sir and ma'am, can we take the questions at the end of all the participant sessions are over? Once that is over?
I feel that they can, my personal opinion is that they can take at the end of the program.
End of the program.
So what do you say, madam?
Ma'am? Ma'am is there? Ma'am?
Okay, our earlier practice was that we will be taking at the end of the.
Like our previous session, we will go by that way, sir. End of the
Okay.
session, we will ask the questions, and is that fine, sir?
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, fine.
Again, ma'am, thank you very much for giving this privilege to present my paper and, again, listening the delegates around the corner. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. The next participant for the day is Ms. Reena Kumari, Research Scholar, Department of Education, Punjab University. And our topic is on ethical challenges and values in public service. Over to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for giving me the chance to speak in such a big platform. I'm going to share my screen first of all. Yes. It is visible, ma'am?
Yes, it is visible. You can start.
Okay. Okay, ma'am. Today, for the presentation, my topic is ethical challenges and values in public service. So, first of all, I'm going to discuss the objectives that I will describe in this presentation. First is meaning and importance of ethics in the governance. Second is ethics and work ethics in the public service. Ethical challenges in public services. Solution of ethical problems to promote an ethical culture. A sense of ethics in public service. Maintain ethical culture. Code of conduct and conclusion. So first of all, I'm going to discuss about the ethics. What is ethics? What is good or bad is related to the ethics, which has to do with moral obligation and duty. It's also a collection of rules and regulations how people behave. Ethics might also take the shape of expectations for the behavior in the workplace. It also expresses moral attitudes held by people, more especially standards of conduct and the justifications behind them. Public administration needs to prioritize ethics. The focus on how desired duties and values of public administrators and others might be used to be more moral and trustworthy in the public services. As said by the Potter Stewart, ethics is knowing the difference between what you have a right to do and what is right to do. Next is need and importance of ethics in the governance. Ethics is an effort to direct human conduct and it helps individuals in leading good life by applying moral principles. Ethics elucidates as well as based standard on the right and wrong that prescribed what a human ought to do, usually in terms of rights, obligations, benefits to society, fairness, or the specific virtues. The advancement of ethics and the moral values in the good governance suggests rationality in the policy and decision making, evolving a sense of responsibility, ensuring accountability, strengthening work commitment, creating excellence, facilitating spirit of individual and organization goals, protecting the national interest and spirit of justice, bringing transparency and elevating integrity. Next is ethics in public services. Formal relationships are a part of the public services. This can apply to co-workers, public servant, or the strangers. There may also be social or legal requirements. What is right or wrong in human action is the subject of the ethics. This area of philosophy focuses on moral concepts. Moral philosophy is another name for the ethics. Ethics is all about identifying the right course of action to take in a particular situation. Public relation ethics can also be relevant to social ethics. Social ethics are peace and harmony, tolerance for the various groups. Political ethics, including national interest and constitutional ethics, etc. Organizational ethics include corporate governance, impartiality, honesty, and hard labor. International ethics include things like obeying international treaties and ethics in the diplomacy. Next is significance of work ethics in the public services. It stands for a dedication to carrying out one's official task with a spirit of involvement, dedication, and sincerity. Additionally, it suggests that a government employee would like his job and not view it as a burden or a drag. And his administrative behavior will be characterized by efficiency, productivity, and punctuality. A profession in public administration service provide an extremely wide range of the option to act morally or immorally, ethically or unethically, or to do good deeds or bad deeds to people. The base of accountability for the people and the government is provided by the ethics. Next is very important thing, the ethical dilemma are also faced by the public administrator on the following issues like bribery, nepotism, graft, patronage, use of official property, documents or position for the private gain, non-adherence to official rules, administrative secrecy, information leakage, public accountability, etc. The majority of the service regulations book is devoted to subject like post classification, service requirement, fines, appellate bodies, and several types of appeals among others. The conduct guidelines only cover the don'ts, not the do's, and they don't specify any conduct standards that can be followed to the intense or uncertain situations. The words choice and option are not used in situations involving decisional problems. This could have a negative impact on how the government runs on a daily basis and leads to confusing circumstances. For resolving these type of issues, it is need to clarify the administrator role and the mandate in relation to those who come into direct contact with them. Know the ethical challenges in the public services. There are some ethical challenges like the social capital. To generate the trust is tough challenge that makes the administration easier, and to ensure the citizens' participation and administrators. Public assurance. Every section of public, irrespective of race, religion, caste, must be treated equally. Next is add compassion. It makes a lot of difference to the lives of the vulnerable sections in day-to-day work life. Next is be responsive. For the needs and aspirations of the public, it is necessary to be responsive. Next is provide guidelines and rules which can harmonize the relationship between civil servants and political executive. High moral standard. It is need to develop the high moral standard in the public administrators and ensure translation into actions. Utilization of resources. Ethical use of resources ensure the efficient and effective development of society without corruption. Next is for better social outcomes. The decisions of public officers are made fairly and on merit and not influenced by personal and private interest. So there is need to dedicate and committed work. Last is building rapid. Ethical administration also helps in building rapid in international relations and economy. Next point is solutions of the ethical problems. Ethics in education should be included in the courses and topics. Next is ethical training for the public officials is one of the instruments for building integrity in state institutions and ensuring good quality public governance. Organizational climate for the ethics, respect, and justice should be included in the infrastructure components. the collection of procedures, institutions, technologies, and other controls that aid in preventing unethical behavior. The ethics infrastructure should include procedures for the independent detection of wrongdoings, including deceit, corruption, fraud, bribery, and misappropriation of the public finance. If offenders are not punished, it often encourages other individuals who may have criminal intent. Integrity in the public administration is an important condition for the effective functioning of the state, for ensuring public trust in the governance, and for creating the conditions for sustainable social and economic development. As UN Convention Against the Corruption requires that the state parties promote education and training programs to enable public officials to meet the requirements for the correct, honorable, and proper performance of the public functions, and that provide them with specialized and appropriate training to enhance their awareness of the risk of corruption inherent in the performance of their function. So here some ethics are given. Our next topic is value system for promoting an ethical culture. So there are some values that are needs to promote. First is never misuse the power or information as an official and spend the public funds as sparingly and carefully as possible. Public employees are expected to act as means of effective governance that will benefit the public, promote socio-economic growth while considering the nation's diversity without discrimination based on caste, community, religion, gender, or class, and by appropriately safeguarding the interest of the unprivileged, weaker, or poorer elements of the society. Uphold constant integrity. Ensure that your official responsibilities are carried out competently, honestly, and lawfully. Make sure management is efficient and leaders are developing professionally. Values like honesty, objectivity, impartiality, compassion, empathy, and lack of conflict of interest, among others. Preserving national pride and patriotism. Respect to the country's laws and the constitution. Next is the essence of ethics for the public services. So essence is that, first of all, watch your words, then actions, then the thought process that convert into the behavior, and behavior is by heart or not. Next is how to maintain the ethical culture. First of all, write the ethical standards, then provide advice on the ethical issues, then evaluation of the ethical conduct, then confidential of violator reports, and if possible, then guidelines for the violators. Ethics and accountability go hand in hand. The achievement of ethical norms in governance system is helped by effective and accountability. The representative of the people have many opportunities to bring up matter of ethics and morals in the political system via committee meetings, debates, and other forms of legislative or the parliamentary supervision. Next is code of conduct for the civil service regulations. So these are included in the chapter number 11, section 134 to 149. So in the 134 section, it is given that an officer's conduct shall be such at all times as not to bring the services into dispute. 135.1, failure to attend to matters promptly within the scope of office. 136.1, an officer shall not be absent from the duty without leave or reasonable excuse. 136.2, an officer when leaving the country shall inform the permanent secretary or the head of the department in written. 137.1, an officer shall not directly or indirectly be involved in financial or other interest or undertaking which could compromise. 138, officers not to publish information. 139.1, an officer shall not respond to questions of public policy. 140 is breach of rules relating to broadcast. 141, act of indebtedness to the extent it impairs efficiency, etc. 141, failure to notify bankruptcy proceedings. 144, except with the permission of the head of the department, an officer shall not accept any gift or reward from any member of the public or from any organization for services. 146, an officer who is offered a bribe shall immediately inform his senior officer in return. 148, an officer who is charged with the criminal offense shall report the matter without delay to the head of the department. 149, 1A, failure to perform any required lawful duty in a proper manner. 149, 1D, behave that is prejudicial to or discredit the service. 149, 2, absent from office or the official duties without leave is valid excuse or is actually irregular in the time of arrival or the departure from the place of the employment. 149, 2E, commits any immoral, obscene, or the disorderly conduct in the office. So I'm going to conclude my presentation with these words. The unseen thread that binds a society together is ethical conduct. The lack of moral behavior in the society is typical a warning that it is about to collapse. Although corruption, unethical behavior, and bureaucratic dysfunction have progressively corrupted our system, the remedies have not been very successful, yet administrative reforms initiatives must be comprehensive enough to encompass issues with the nature of the work ethics, different facets of the ethics, ethical concerns, and the types of barriers to ethical accountability. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Reena Kumari. That was a wonderful presentation. A much of
Thank you.
clarity. And let's see what the chair and the co-chair will have to say by the end of the session. Okay, so the next presenter for the day is Ms. Mehreen Manzoor, Assistant Professor, University of Petroleum and Energy Studies, Dehradun, Uttarakhand, India, and her topic is on criminal woman, a docile prisoner. Over to you, Ms. Mehreen.
Thank you, Dr. Meera. If I could ask Reena, could you stop sharing your screen, because only then can I share mine.
Yes, ma'am. I'm going to try for it. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. While I can just put up my presentation on the screen, I just wanted to introduce, you've already introduced me, that I'm teaching law, and I'm finding it quite good and curious that I've joined this conference. I'm really happy about it because it's about a lot about public administration, and generally we go to conferences relating to law and I do not get a lot of perspective on these aspects that were covered by this conference. Yeah, I just
That's a specialty of public administration.
Yes, and we should probably be encouraging a lot more of such conferences. But however, generally seen, I end up going to only law-oriented ones, and that doesn't help, I think, anybody. Since the conference is on the current public administration trends, I would like to talk about a trend that I do not see quite, is not getting a lot of traction in the Indian political space or even in academic space, that is the criminal woman. Probably it's a bit on the nose that I've already termed the woman criminal, but the current paper, the presentation, I wanted to talk about how, in the crux of it is that how the system is not very inclusive of women, but it does treat them equally, which ultimately results in a very unequality that we have given to her. So I would start by situating the woman in the socio-economic milieu. For example, I've put up a few figures relating to women in India. They are more anemic. Even if we look at female sterilization, even though we have evidence that shows that male sterilization is easier, but somehow through a lot of laws. For example, if you look at one of these labor legislations, I'm forgetting which one, Maternity Benefit Act actually. It gives women a leave of 2 weeks if she goes for tubectomy, and it does not even talk anything about if a man wants to go for vasectomy. So through different laws, we are again forcing women to go for such procedure. If we look at obesity, that is increasing in women. However, if I look at the representative side of it, we still are at 14% of cabinet ministers, only 10% of women are in the parliament. State assemblies are equally abysmal, it's at 9%. Panchayati Raj institutions, mostly because we made it a constitutional mandate to have women, we are seeing that 45%. However, I do recall that when we had made this law, there was a lot of backlash from a lot of people saying that, you know what, and it did happen. In the beginning, that many of the women were dummy candidates standing in for their husbands or their fathers or their sons, etc. However, I see that there has been improvement. Lot many women are going back with a motive of going to stand in the panchayat elections. Voter turnout now we see is at 67.2% in recent elections. We have now surpassed men also in our voting capacities. However, the same is not reflected in representation. And similar such statistics, even if I look at female labor participation, it's still at 24%, which is even behind some of our counterparts, such as Bangladesh. Not just that, while female labor participation is low in our country, if you look at the daily wage earning capacity, women on an average earn 100 rupees less than men. And in fact, there are a couple of papers being written on how we were supposed to have a U graph in India, which means that, okay, first the women employment would have gone down because women would have gone to schools, colleges, gotten more educated, and then would have entered the workforce at better positions. However, the figures are completely contrary. We see only 80 to 90% of graduates are not even opting to work in our country. In my class, and especially law is a subject where we have overwhelming admissions by female students, and I look at them and I tell them, maybe 50% of you, like statistics say 80-90% of you are not going to work. So maybe we're just like wasting a lot of education, that too in a very expensive college like UPES. After having situated women in India, and the condition is not much different, even if we talked about like many other continents such as Africa and in certain cases the Americas as well. On the other hand, if I look at criminology, a discipline that started around 1950s, we started to question as to why man commits crime. However, for a couple of decades, we forgot that even women were committing crime. In fact, the first few jails that we have made in world and in India did not have women jails. It started off that we started off sending mad women, so to speak. Of course, it's a very inaccurate term now, mad or lunatic women to prison. That's how we started to create a space. For the longest time, I was looking at NCRB data, and they still in their data have a column where they add like, okay, this is the number of mad women that we put in the jails for this time. So there's a lot of allegation, not just allegation, it started off as a radical theory in itself, where criminology had just forgotten about why women offend. When they caught on to this lack or amnesia of women, they started to insert women also in criminology. And we started to believe that why a man commits crime, the woman commits the crime for the same reason. And even if we look at, of course, my slide is not very informative, but what I wanted to say is that Carol Smart or Judith Butler started to talk about how law has also forgotten about women. Even if we look at conferences, political debates, university courses, they are looking at women as a victim only. They're not looking at it as a criminal. Even if today's conference, I see many paper presentations were why woman is not doing good at maternal health, this, that health, or how much violence is being committed against women. But we are not looking at her how is she a criminal. But when I look at the attitude of the state towards the woman, we say that, you know, a lot is being done for them. In fact, we started to enact so many laws such as that I've put on the screen. Hindu Marriage Act was changed it for the first time, said yes, divorce can happen. Then it brought the age of marriage up for women. And in fact, it gave the right to the woman that even if you were married at a younger age, even if it's consummated, you can annul the marriage as soon as you attain majority. We made the Dowry Prohibition Act, then we also added the dowry death to Indian Penal Code. Not only this, we also added Domestic Protection of Women of Domestic Violence Act to target that issue of the society. Then we had the Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act, etc. So on this side also, we did everything to show to the world and to the women in India. Now we have Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, that we are doing our best to protect you, or a much of a chauvinistic attitude that we have presented on this side. However, when we look at judiciary, this is just a bunch of cases. I took down all the last Supreme Court, 10 Supreme Court cases where the Supreme Court is now giving sentence to a woman, whichever case. But what we see is that most severe cases that women cases go to the Supreme Court or to the High Court are dowry related, where the mother-in-law or sister-in-law has either demanded dowry or has killed the daughter-in-law, or other cases are related to where the woman has murdered her spouse for whatever reason. What I wanted to show through this slide, or have a discussion about how judiciary looks at women, is that it does not look at woman as a hapless being. In fact, it has started to sentence a higher punishment or ask for more because she's a woman. Because she's a mother, she has motherhood. They use terms like motherhood, womanhood, and she's supposed to be more protective. Because she was not more protective, now she must have more punishment. For example, in this Meera, sorry, your namesake, and it's a much more recent case in 2022, where the judge said that it is a more serious offense when a woman commits an offense against another woman. Another one is, this one caught a lot of media attention. Shabnam versus State of UP. I don't know if you've heard. She kills an entire family. She poisoned an entire family. Then her boyfriend comes and then kills the entire family, including a 10-month-old child, which is why it ended up being in the papers. And this is what the judge had to say, that today legal system does not differentiate between son and daughter, and Indian culture has been such that it is now giving daughter an equal place. And it is not, while they are pronouncing this judgment, they do not look at their bench and see there are only like 10% women, which means like there are 2 women judges in the Supreme Court and even lesser in the high courts. So I think it's a very dichotomous and a very, I'm forgetting the word, hypocritical statement to have made, where they say that the Indian legal system has changed. We have 13% of women in police. So whenever, and there have been numerous studies that have already been written on how the system and how women, when they want to go report for the crimes, different crimes, how they are, the institutional behavior towards them is what stops them from doing a lot or even fighting for their rights. This another one was a very interesting case, and this was way long, 74, and it was by Justice Krishna Iyer. And I remember when I was learning law, when I was in college, my teachers would tell us that, oh, Justice Krishna Iyer was best judge, and he just wrote amazing things, etc. And then I look at the judgments by him, and he is writing that, this reckless passion of a jealous mistress, she planned to liquidate her competitor, and that she allowed her flesh to assert itself salaciously when invited by uncensured opportunity for lonely meetings. So one can see that they're not looking at the socio-economic, it seems like they have turned a blind eye to the socio-economic status of the woman while treating her quite equally when it comes to sentencing. One would have thought that they would have treated women leniently because, they don't have agency, they don't have this, that, patriarchy, but it is not so. It would be a wrong assumption to have on our side. Finally, the objective of my paper was the prisons. So finally coming to it is crime statistics. I'm sure a lot of you know that crime statistics are published by NCRB in our country. But increasingly from 2015, it has stopped publishing reports in such a manner where we can understand what types of crimes women are committing. So it is trying to somehow, it is not ignoring, like I was telling you, that it's not a discourse that we have, it's not a trend that is coming in public administration to understand why women do what they do as far as crime is related. Even if we look at the Lok Sabha Committee on Empowerment of Women, this current Lok Sabha, 17th Lok Sabha, has only 6 reports to its credit. Previous predecessors, 14, 15, 16, would have like 22 reports for the 5 years. But this Lok Sabha committee, while it said that it would be doing a lot in women empowerment, etc., has 6 reported. None of them talk about prisons and women. But the same problem still persists. I would just like to highlight a few major problems with the system. One is that the population of women prisoners is steadily increasing. While prison population is increasing, but we would see from the figures that it's increasing quite exponentially in women. And the trend is somewhat seen world over. It's not just in India. It is that the current focus of crime in a lot of countries, for example, went on drug-related offenses. After these rowdy deaths and spouse killings, drug-related offenses are one of the major ones in which women commit offenses, which also shows us that if it's not something that is related, like it's something to do with family, she does not enter the drug business on her own. It is somewhat like a familial things through which she enters this. So while the population is steadily increasing, but we have only 18 women-only jails in the entire country. And there are certain states that do not even have a single woman-only jail. Knowing that our country is still, we would not say that we have achieved gender parity. And understanding the stereotypes that exist in India, sending women to a place where it is guarded by men, it's a man jailer, it's a man personnel. In fact, like sometimes they will have like one woman personnel inside the jail because she needs to. But in some states, if she's not there, then there'd be no woman personnel as well. And it creates a lot of stigma in women. Once they leave the prison, to be inside the man-only jail creates a lot of stigma that should not have been intended. I'm trying to show that we wanted prisons as a punishment because it would have treated everyone equally. And I'm trying to show that it should not have, cannot treat women equally. The state does not have the moral standing right now to send, when it cannot create prisons that are women only, women run, etc. It does not, it is being blind to the idea that the amount of punishment that is giving on women is higher. So when you're saying that a man should go to prison for 7 years and a woman should go to prison for 7 years, that 7 years are different for a woman than it is for a man. And if it is higher for a woman, then it is not moral for the state to somehow have the same code, somehow have the same structure for the woman. Another aspect is, for example, food, like a small thing like food. Women in traditional households are the ones that control food. But because there are not most women-only jails, other jails, man does the cooking, man does the serving, man brings it to the woman outside the woman barrack, after which it's taken inside. So one thing that women would control at home and exercise their agency over, that is also being taken away in the prisons. There are no gender specific needs that are taken care of. On top of that, if it's children, children must stay with women until 6 years. And the horrifying statistics is that I think almost 75% of women are under trials, whereas the common percentage, the overall percentage is around 70, but 75% of women are under trials, and more women with children are inside than they are convicted. So it's a worrying statistic, to say the least. Apart from that, there's a gender entrapment as well, and feminization of poverty. If we look at the current caste census, there are around 12 point or 13 point households in our country that are female headed households. Out of them, 80% of these 13% have an income of less than 5,000 rupees. And the same, we see the same statistic inside. Most people inside the prisons are either female headed households or they are from marginalized sections, etc., which is a worrying trend nonetheless. And I've already talked about the Madness in Prison Association. And I would just like to conclude my talk with the summation that there's a dichotomy in the how state is treating women. On the one hand, it wants to, and it is where it should not be treating them equally, whereas it is a quantum of punishment, treating her to the same penal code, sending her to the same prison, giving her the same amount of clothes, giving her the same amount of bathrooms, etc., or food. However, the needs are quite different. Firstly, we have not thought of why the woman offends. Till the time we conclude for sure that the woman is offending through her own agency, till the time it would not be kind of fair to treat women equally. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Just a second. Yeah. Thank you so much, Ms. Mehri. I think this is really an interesting topic when you're talking about the women. It's really interesting. Whatever you have brought in is really interesting. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Meera.
Yeah, criminal woman. Yeah. Okay, so we move on to the next presenter, Dr. Anil Kumar. He's from the Department of Public Administration, University School of Open Learning, Punjab University. And his topic is on Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, a policy for social equity and financial inclusiveness. Over to you, sir.
Good evening, everyone. This is Venus, and I am co-authoring this paper for the Anil sir.
Okay.
I'm research scholar from Punjab University, Chandigarh.
Okay.
So I'll be presenting this paper.
Your good name?
On his behalf.
Your good name?
It's Venus. Venus.
Venus. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Would you be sharing the screen?
Yeah, I'll just share my screen.
Yeah, please. I request the chair and the co-chair to just make a note of it.
Is it visible?
Yeah, it is visible.
So good evening, everyone. The topic of my presentation is Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, a policy for social equity and inclusiveness. Like according to the latest reports of World Bank, over 40% of the population in India still lives in moderate poverty. So for this, public policies are needed that are dynamic and adapt to the needs and circumstances in the society. Such policies should promote equity, inclusivity, and must improve the well-being of the citizens. Inclusive policies are needed for reducing the social and economic disparities and to make sure that marginalized and disadvantaged people have equal access to resources and opportunities. So the major reason for the poverty is lack of access to formal financial services, which also hinders the economy of the country. And for this, to address this issue, there is a policy that has been implemented by the government of India, that is Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. This scheme will pull the unbanked and deprived people to get included into the system willingly, so that the more people have been the part of system in productive manner and their money can be utilized for productive purposes. So what is the essence of social equity and inclusiveness? First of all, what is social equity? It means eliminating all the barriers that some people face on the basis of their caste, race, color, gender, age, and other status. So these inequalities must be do away by implementing certain policies that uplift them. And inclusivity means empowering people to take part in the decision-making process that affects them. So as we know, like India is a diverse country, so there is a need for to bring all the people together from different backgrounds and from different regions so that everyone take part in the decision-making process. And here are some principles for social equity and inclusiveness. First of all, empowerment, that is, we need to empower people and marginalized and vulnerable groups, especially by providing them with tools and resources by which they can generate income and they can shape their lives. Then is equality, that is to treat all the individuals fairly and respectfully, regardless of their background. Then access and opportunity, that everybody should have equal access and
You're not audible. Is Dr. Anil Kumar there? You're not audible.
hello.
Hello. Yeah. Is Dr. Anil Kumar there? Suppose your voice breaks, probably he can carry forward also. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, Ms. Venus?
Am I audible now?
Yeah, you're audible. Is Dr. Anil Kumar present for the presentation?
He is busy, so actually he's not present, I guess.
Okay.
Shall I start?
Yeah, please do.
Yeah.
Continue with wherever you've stopped.
Okay. Then there is a need for social cohesion.
Your screen is not visible. You have to share the screen.
Is it visible now?
Not yet. Yeah, it is visible now. You may proceed.
So there is a need for social cohesion. That means to create a society where everyone from different backgrounds coexist in harmony. This fosters understanding, solidarity, and brotherhood, which is important for a nation like India, where a society is diverse. Then continuous improvement, like to make sure that equity and inclusiveness is an ongoing process. There is a need for continuous efforts that promote these principles. There is need for continuous monitoring, evaluation, and new strategies should be adopted to achieve the objectives. Then I'll talk about Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. It is a national mission for financial inclusion and launched on 28th August 2014. It ensures access to financial services, namely banking, savings and deposit accounts, remittance, credit insurance, and pension affordably via DBT to the unbanked population. This scheme has proved to be a remedy for the socio-economic vulnerable population's distress like unemployment, poverty, financial exclusion, and social deprivation. So there are certain public people-centric economic initiatives that have been implemented by the government of India. For example, the financial assistance given during COVID, other health and life insurance cover, and DBT. So the first step for all these initiatives is to provide every bank account, which PMJDY scheme has already completed. Now the objective of the scheme, it is ensuring access to various financial services like availability of basic savings bank account, access to need-based credit, remittances included section, that is weaker sections and low income groups. This deep penetration at affordable cost is possible with the effective use of technology. Now I'll talk about the features of the scheme. First is it starts with zero balance, that there is no need for balance to open the account. Second is interest on deposit, paying interest if the beneficiaries deposit their money. The account can be opened in any branch or business correspondent outlet. And also there is easy transfer of money across the India, that the process is not cumbersome at all. And overdraft facilities is permitted after 6 months after the beneficiaries have created the account, and accidental insurance
I think she had a connectivity issue.
Yeah, she's got a connectivity issue. That is what, if Dr. Anil Kumar is available, he can proceed. What can we do, sir? We'll wait for some time.
Again, Dr. Anil Kumar, please.
Sir?
Dr. Anil Kumar. I think Dr. Anil Kumar is not there.
Yeah.
So shall we call the next person?
Shall we, sir? That's the last participant.
Yeah, he's available.
Yeah.
Second person now.
Okay. So, yeah. So the last participant for the day is Mr. Right? Mr. or Miss? Eugene Jerome Carolino from Manila, Philippines. And the topic is on keeping millennial employees, factors that affect employee retention among Filipino millennials. Over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Mira, and thank you everyone for giving me the chance to present.
1 second, Mr. Eugene. Ms. Venus, it would be good if you can ask Dr. Anil Kumar to be present, because in case you we find that you have a connectivity issue.
Because of heavy rainfall here, the connection is...
Yeah, I understand. So if sir is there, if Dr. Anil Kumar is there, he can proceed because we see him online. So if you get back, he can take up the position and then go ahead with the presentation. Can you just check with him and come? So
yeah,
after his presentation, you can go about. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Yes,
you,
Mr.
sir.
Eugene. Thank you for your patience. Please continue.
Thank you very much once again. So I'm here to present my research paper along with my research partners, Justin Bacani.
Carolina, can you raise your voice? It's not so audible. Your volume, I think, can you adjust your volume?
Okay. Can you hear me right now, sir?
That's okay. It's okay.
All right. So can you also see my screen? Can I confirm if my screen can be seen?
Yes, your screen is seen. It's visible.
Thank you. So, all right. So my topic falls on organization and behavior, and it might be useful for policy making. And in public admin, there's going to be a lot of millennial employees. So I will present some findings on keeping your millennial employees in your workplace. Right. So introduction. So millennials compose 35% of the workplace and will increase to 75% by the year 2025, according to Hoffman 2018. And when compared to the previous generations, millennials have a different outlook of the concept of work and have a different preference in terms of job specifications. This is according to Lyons et al. 2012. And according to Safer 2008, millennials do not mind job hopping if there are certain job aspects like work hours and pay are not in their favor. And according to the Philippine Statistics Authority 2018, 43% of the workforce are composed of millennials. So this study aims to determine the factors that affect employee retention among Filipino millennials. Given that the millennials are now the bulk of the workforce, it might be useful for us to know how can we have loyal millennial employees. Okay, so we're using the framework of Almaita et al. Okay, so in her framework, there are 4 variables that affect employee retention, namely compensation, which includes pay satisfaction, direct compensation, and indirect compensation. Career development, which involves speed of promotion and availability of career opportunities. Work-life balance, which involves family interference and flexi time. And transformational leadership, which involves idealized influence, inspirational motivation, intellectual stimulation, and individualized consideration. Now, for our study, we added a 5th variable, which is millennial work values. And the factors under millennial work values are priority to personal life, online relationship or social media usage, priority on leisure, autonomous learning style, boredom threshold, and attention span. Okay, and extrinsic work values. So in total, we have 5 independent variables for our dependent variable employee retention. Now I will proceed with the methodology. So this is a quantitative research design. The research is descriptive causal and it's quantitative. So this study takes place on companies in Metro Manila, the capital of the Philippines, due to such location being an urbanized and business abundant area. So a questionnaire was accomplished through Google Forms, an online survey platform widely used for convenient data collection. We also used hard copies of the survey and we distributed it for a wider scope of collection. And for our sampling, we used purposive sampling, and the age bracket that will be used in the study is 15 to 34 due to the statistical data that is available. The total number of employed Filipino millennials in the labor force aged 15 to 34 is 18,130,454. Using Slovin's formula with the confidence level of 95%, our sample size is 400 respondents. So a total of 400 Filipino millennials participated in our survey. So for the survey instrument, we used a 16-item questionnaire with Likert scales. This was validated and then pre-tested for reliability using Cronbach's alpha. The results of the first pre-test yielded a value of only 0.66. Thus, the researchers improved the questionnaire, and then a second pre-test was conducted, which yielded a value of 0.90. And once we reached this value, we proceeded with the actual data gathering. Now I will proceed with the results of the study. But before that, here is the table of interpretation that we used for descriptive statistics. So we use 2 types of data analysis for our research, which is descriptive statistics and multiple linear regression to see the relationship between the variables. Right, now for the results and discussion. Now for the profile of the respondents, the average age of our respondents was 25 years old. And in our study, we found out that the average length of time that they stayed in the company is 23.56 months or 2 years. And 56.5% of the respondents have already transferred to another company. Okay. And the number of times transferred to companies is 1.315. This is the mean, or once. And the average salary of the respondents is 22,775 Philippine pesos. Okay. Now for the results of the multiple linear regression for the 5 variables for millennial work values and work-life balance. We rejected the alternative hypothesis. So there is no significant relationship between millennial work values and employee retention, as well as work-life balance and employee retention. But for compensation, career development, and transformational leadership, we saw that there is a significant relationship between these variables and employee retention. And here is a more comprehensive results. I'll just zoom in a bit. This is in a per age bracket. So we see from 18 to 21 years old, using descriptive statistics, all of the variables are actually slightly significant. But when we look at the multiple linear regression, we see that the ones from 18 to 21 years old really value career development. So they don't really value compensation that much. Even if the pay is a bit lower, they're okay with it as long as there is career development. If they see promotion, they're okay with it. Work-life balance also is not significant for them. Transformational leadership and millennial work values are not significant. Now, for the age bracket of 22 to 25, almost everything is already significant except for work-life balance. So now the millennials during this age bracket think that compensation is significant, career development is significant, transformational leadership is significant, and millennial work values are significant. For 26 to 29 years old, we see that the significant factors are compensation and transformational leadership, not anymore in the career development. By this time, probably they have been promoted or something. So now they put more significance on the compensation and the transformational leadership. Maybe this is the time where they are already having their families, and maybe that's why they value compensation a lot more. And for 30 to 34 years old, similar results, compensation and transformational leadership are the significant factors. Now I'll proceed to my conclusions. So the study concludes that career development, compensation, and transformational leadership are the variables with significant effects on employee retention respectively. Work-life balance, although very much preferred by Filipino millennial employees, have no significant effect on employee retention. Millennial work values, on the other hand, also do not have a significant relationship to employee retention. The most significant variable affecting employee retention for millennials is career development. And that's why it is very important for companies and organizations to have a good career development plan in order to encourage loyal millennial employees. This research also found out that the most difficult age group to retain is the age group of 22 to 25 years old, because it is in this age bracket where almost all factors except work-life balance are significant to employee retention. As we can see here, all of the factors are now being considered by the millennial employees in this age group. So it is the most difficult age to retain. Okay. And going back to the average stay of Filipino employees in their companies is only 2 years. That is why there has to be a plan for employees in order to, before they reach their second work anniversary, so that we can encourage them to stay loyal in the company. And there are other factors mentioned by the respondents. Our survey questionnaire also asked in an open-ended question. And we see that one factor that affects employee retention was the work environment. So that's a variable that we did not explore and that can be explored in future research. And for my last slide, I would show my recommendations. The researchers recommend that companies should have an extensive career development plan. Since the average stay of Filipino millennial employees is only 2 years, it is recommended to offer promotions or job rotations before an employee reaches their second work anniversary in the company or before they reach 2 years in the company. The compensation of employees must also be competitive. Salary surveys should be done annually to make sure that the compensation packages of the employee are still at par, if not better, with other companies. Another recommendation to improve employee retention is by improving the factors under transformational leadership, as we have seen that it was also a significant variable that leads to employee retention. So our leaders our business leaders, or even our public administration leaders must therefore know what transformational leadership is and how to practice this. And for future researchers, the researchers would also like to recommend to further look into career development of millennials, since this is the most significant factor. And it is also recommended that a similar research would be conducted for Generation Z, which are now entering the workplace. And that is all for my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Yugen. That was a nice presentation. And especially we come to know about a lot of Philippine. Philippines and the Philippine millennials, right? So it's actually a very nice topic. Apart from all the other topics that we were discussing about Yojana, about women. So this is quite a different from your different country. Thank you for it.
Thank you, Dr. Mira.
Miss Venus, are you there?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. And what about Dr.
I'm
Anil Kumar?
audible now? I've connected to the Wi-Fi now, so I hope I'm
Okay.
audible now.
Yeah. Can we have, is Dr. Anil Kumar there?
No, he's not there.
Okay. Can you please ask him
Shall
to
I
log
start?
in also? Can you please ask him to log in also? Because since he has applied, he should be present for the presentation also.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, please. I request the chair and the co-chair to just bear with me because this is mandatory. And so kindly bear for a few minutes. The other participants also, I request you all to have little patience till Dr. Anil Kumar logs in.
Hello.
Yeah, please tell me.
Ma'am, because of some connectivity issue in Punjab, because of heavy rainfall, he is not able to join. He messaged you also, I guess, in the chat.
Acha. Okay. So you please present.
Shall I start from the starting?
Let me check with our chair. Sir, should she present from the beginning or from where she stopped?
I think from where she stopped, I think. Probably.
Okay.
Okay, I'll start from the introduction of the scheme and then I'll just.
Yeah, you had given us an overview with a green slide. I remember that.
Okay.
Yeah, the green slide. I think it had all pentagon
This one?
forms. No,
This
the
one?
fourth one. This one. Yeah, this is from here you have to start.
So I'll start with the introduction of the scheme only.
I
So
think we've
this is
seen
for the-
this, madam. We've seen this. You can proceed with the other slide itself.
Objectives, have you seen it?
Objectives you have finished. It's with the slide which has got all those, not this, the rest, next one. Next one.
This no, this I haven't done. I'll start
Oh,
with maybe
you stopped with this. This one, I think it's the fourth slide.
Fourth slide is this one.
Yes, from this you have to start.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what is the essence of social equity and inclusiveness? So, what is social equity, first of all? It means eliminating all the barriers that some people face on the basis of their caste, race, color, gender, age, and economic status. Such inequalities must do away by implementing certain policies that uplift them and then let them come to the mainstream, and with equality, making sure that they have equal access to the resources and opportunities in the country. And inclusiveness is empowering people to take part in the decision making. Like, as we know, India is a diverse country. So there is a need to bring all the people, regardless of their background, from different regions of the country, and ensure that everyone's voice is heard and valued in the decision making process. So these are some principles of the social equity and inclusiveness. That is, empowerment is, we all know that to empower people mostly from the vulnerable sections and providing them with tools and resources by which they can generate income and can shape their lives. Then equality, that is to treat all the individuals fairly and respectfully regardless of their background. Means there's no discrimination but equal opportunities for everyone. Then access and opportunity, that everybody have access to essential services like education, health, jobs, and resources. So there's a need to remove these barriers that limit access to, so that there's a level playing field in the country. Then is representation and participation. That is to promote diverse representation and participation to all the people, regardless of their background in decision making. And it also involves that we have to like value and respect different perspectives and their experiences. Then there is a need for social cohesion, that is like people from various backgrounds, they have to coexist in harmony. Like this fosters understanding, solidarity, and brotherhood, which is important for a nation like India. And then last is continuous improvement, like to make sure that to achieve social equity and inclusiveness. And we know that it is an ongoing process. So there's a need for continuous improvement or efforts that promote these principles. So continuous monitoring, evaluation, and new strategies should be adopted to achieve these objectives. Then I'll talk about the scheme only, Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. It is a national mission for financial inclusion, launched on 28th August 2014. It ensures access to financial services, namely banking, savings and deposit accounts, remittance, credit, insurance, and pension affordably via DBT to the unbanked population. This scheme has proved to be a remedy for the socio-economic vulnerable population's distress like unemployment, poverty, and financial exclusion. We know like there are a lot of people-centric economic initiatives that are being implemented by the government of India, like financial assistance given during COVID-19 and other direct benefit transfer and life and health insurance cover. The first step of all these initiatives is to provide every adult with a bank account, which PMJDY or this scheme has nearly completed. Now, the objective is again to ensure access to various financial services like banking, basic saving accounts, credit, insurance, and pension to the excluded sections, weaker section, and low income groups. This deep penetration at affordable cost is possible only with the effective use of technology. This is the objective of the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. Then we have key features of the scheme, like PMJDY accounts with zero balance. Anyone can open their account for zero balance. There is no need that a specific balance is needed. Then interest on deposit is given to the beneficiaries. Account can be opened in any branch or business correspondent outlet. There is also easy transfer of money across India, and overdraft facilities is given after 6 months after the beneficiaries has opened their account. And then accidental insurance cover and RuPay debit card must be used at least once in 45 days. These are the key features of the PMJDY scheme. Then 6 pillars of the scheme. First is universal access to banking services through branch and banking correspondents. Then providing basic banking accounts with overdraft facilities and RuPay debit card to all households. Basic saving accounts with an overdraft facility of ₹10,000 to every eligible adult is given. Then various financial literacy programs are promoted so that the beneficiaries can know how to save, how to use the ATMs, and how to avail insurance and pensions, and use basic mobile phones for banking. Then creation of a credit guarantee fund to provide banks with some guarantee against default, so that this fund is needed. And insurance accident cover is given up to 1 lakh and life cover of 30,000 on account opened. And also for unorganized sector, pension schemes are also there, like Swalambam scheme. Then the benefits under the PMJDY scheme are that one, am I audible, right?
You are audible, very much audible.
Okay, thank you. Then benefits under the PMJDY scheme. One basic savings bank account is opened for unbanked person, and there is no need to maintain any minimum balance in the PMJDY accounts. It can start with zero balance only. Interest is also on the deposit in PMJDY account holders, and RuPay debit card is provided to them, and then insurance cover, as I told you. And the PMJDY accounts are eligible for direct benefit transfer and other schemes like PM Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Jyoti Bima Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Suraksha Bima Yojana, Atal Pension Yojana. All of them can be transferred via DBT to their accounts. Now I'll come to the problem statement of the problem. So this program for financial inclusion was launched, and this arrangement affects the recipient's standard of living as well the efficiency of the banks. The government's inclusive approach plan needs to be properly examined in order to take the appropriate measures. The purpose of this study is to ascertain whether the financial needs of the impoverished groups can be met by the money credited. In addition, there are also a number of issues that develop during the implementation phase as well as for the recipients. Therefore, this paper will seek to provide some suggestions that may be put into action to ensure the success of this plan for social justice and inclusivity in the nation. The objectives of the study is again to study the if the PMJDY scheme in supplementing the financial needs of the vulnerable groups, and to identify the challenges faced by the beneficiaries during the implementation phase of the PMJDY scheme. Now I'll talk about the research methodology. So we have used primary data has been collected via telephonic interview with the stakeholders to know their opinion on the scheme, and secondary data has been collected from various journals and research papers and government reports to discover the challenges that are encountered by the beneficiaries and therein suggestions that could be implemented. Now the findings and suggestions, like this initiative has helped numerous beneficiaries in a variety of ways to satisfy their additional financial needs. The researcher, we interviewed the beneficiaries of the PMJDY banking service in order to increase the study's validity. So regarding the advantages they are receiving and the difficulties they are encountering, the beneficiaries' reactions were divided. So these are, can it supplement the needs of the beneficiaries? These are the positive responses, like yes, there is access to banking services. This program has given the recipients access to official banking services, allowing them to create bank accounts and make use of range of financial products. This includes performing digital transactions, adding and removing their money from their accounts, and receiving government benefits and subsidies directly into their accounts. Then direct benefit transfer, by integrating this scheme with other social welfare programs and placing a strong focus on DBT. Beneficiaries have been guaranteed to receive government grants and pensions directly into their bank accounts. Through this transfer mechanism, funds have been delivered transparently and on time. This also prevents leaks and ensure that those who need it, they receive it. Then savings and financial security. So this is like a safe and secure place to store their money. This scheme has helped recipients establish a savings habit, which were earlier lacking among the vulnerable groups. The beneficiaries have now started to save their wages, create a financial cushion, and work towards reaching their financial goals by using the banking services provided by the scheme. Also, there is access to credit and insurance. This was given, they have used this to invest in business that generate income and can meet their financial requirements and then protect their families and themselves from the unforeseen occurrences. So these are the positive, some responses from the respondents. And now, what are the difficulties that they have faced? Like for instance, people in rural locations, sometimes they had trouble conducting transaction and understanding how to go about them. This resulted from a lack of awareness regarding the use of technology and carrying out the digital transactions and how to use the ATMs, and then how to comprehend the transaction receipts. They become reliant on others to complete their transactions, as a result, which made them less likely to use the financial services. Also, the lack of nearby ATMs and bank branches is a common complaint. To use the financial services, they had to go to a distance. Additionally, their capacity to make digital transactions was hampered by the network difficulty in rural and isolated places. The recipients also complained that opening a bank account was time consuming and it was a difficult process. So these are the some suggestions, some complaints or some challenges that were faced by the beneficiaries. Now, this was conducted via primary data collection. Now, after performing a survey of secondary sources, the researcher learned about the difficulties in putting the PMJDY scheme into practice. So these are certain challenges in implementing the scheme. First is dormant and inactive accounts. Like, although the focus of the scheme was opening more accounts and regular transaction, but the reverse has happened. Like accounts were opening, but the user engagement remained a challenge. This was because of, again, financial illiteracy, lack of adequate incentives given to the account holders to use their account actively. Then is financial exclusion. This scheme came to address the issue of financial exclusion and bringing the marginalized and vulnerable groups into the formal banking structure. But because of lack of identity documents and poor banking infrastructure and connectivity issues in the implementation of the scheme and promoting financial inclusion was a challenge. So the grievance redressal mechanism. So the beneficiaries, they faced a lot of problems like lost cards and concerns related to their accounts and incorrect transactions in their accounts. So because of lack of effective grievance redressal mechanism, these problems were not solved, which left the beneficiaries unsatisfied and caused frustration among them. Then is risk of security and fraud. Like we know, several risks related to customer data and their transactions come up. So any system that involves storing, gathering, and processing of sensitive or personal data, so these are vulnerable to data fraud risk. Then lack of financial literacy, also because obviously in rural areas, the people lack literacy or the knowledge about the finances. Then lack of coordination with other social programs was an issue because effective implementation requires effective communication and coordination with other schemes like DBT obviously. So problems in data sharing with other departments is a challenge. So there was less focus on KYC norms. During data opening, less attention had been given to the KYC norms, and therefore there was duplication of accounts, which was unavoidable if these norms are not insisted upon. Also, there is manipulation of overdraft facility. So it needs to be regulated properly as it is left to the discretion of the concerned bank, and hence these banks refuse to extend the overdraft facility and thereby defeating the purpose only. So it became confusing for the beneficiaries regarding the benefits provided under the scheme. Lack of technology and connectivity, it is an issue that is faced in rural areas. So the beneficiaries, they were not able to handle the banks because of a lot of transactions, intensifying transaction, they could not handle the system. Also the connectivity issue in some rural areas. Additionally, constraints that are posed by demography is also going to take a lot of time to ensure connectivity in future. Also, there is lack of understanding of finances among beneficiaries, as we know, because of lack of knowledge and illiteracy among the poor. Now, lack of information because the banker in many cases did not give the adequate advice on how to use the RuPay card to the beneficiaries. And this again led to more confusion and frustration among them. And this showed lack of support from bank employees. Again, then last is lack of trust on private sector banks, as beneficiaries preferred public sector banks more because private sectors levied hidden charges on the beneficiaries, which caused mistrust and hence more reliance on public sector banks. So these are certain challenges in implementing the scheme that we started during secondary data collection. Now, these are some suggestions for the smooth implementation of the scheme. So we need to bolster outreach and awareness raising initiatives. So there is need for broad awareness activities at the grassroots level. We have to work together with local leaders, NGOs, and self-help groups to effectively spread information. There is a need for simplifying the KYC requirements. Like we have to make it easier for the people who lack official identification documents to open accounts by cutting down the paperwork and KYC requirements. So what we can do is like biometric identification can be done to make opening an account quicker and easier. So next is enhanced financial literacy programs, as financial education is important so that they know about the online transactions and savings and investment opportunities. Open up banking infrastructure to more people, like in remote and undeserved locations. We have to make sure that the infrastructure like bank branches and ATM is accessible. Use cutting edge techniques to address the accessibility gap, like such as mobile banking vans can be used, banking correspondents, and digital banking services. Then there is a need to focus on service delivery. Continually evaluate the raise the bar for this financial services delivered. Like there are problems involved like failed transactions, customer service, and grievance resolution. So banking workers, they should improve the service delivery and customer experience with the regular training programs. Then next is enable credit and insurance access. So we need to work together with financial institution to give this scheme more access to credit options and insurance services. There is a need to encourage financial connections and alliances that are tailored to the unique requirements of the disadvantaged communities. Then there is a need to encourage beneficiaries of the PMJDY to use digital banking services to promote digital financial inclusion. To help beneficiaries efficiently utilize digital financial services, make it easier to provide low-cost handsets, encourage digital literacy, and enhance network connectivity. Then we need to strengthen monitoring and evaluation, so that regular evaluation, they can aid in identifying issues and guiding the creation of policies that will successfully address them. Then there is a need to work together with various stakeholders, encourage beneficiaries' active participation and input to guarantee that their demands are properly met. And last is to integrate social welfare programs to the fullest. Like PMJDY and other social welfare programs like DBT should be better coordinated and integrated to reduce leakage and provide inclusive benefits for vulnerable groups. Enable seamless transfer of subsidies and benefits to the PMJDY account holders. So in conclusion, like we know with the help of this scheme, every home, whether urban or rural, would have simple access to the financial services. In terms of ending financial untouchability in the nation, the PMJDY strategy has produced an excellent result in the banking industry. So as we can infer from the findings that it can supplement the financial needs of the beneficiaries and has yielded positive results. Although there are certain challenges, but with increasing awareness campaigns, literacy programs, and better infrastructure and improved technology solution, financial efforts between government organizations and other stakeholders are just a few multifaceted strategies needed to address these issues. So in order to guarantee the scheme's success in fostering the financial inclusion and empowering vulnerable groups, regular review and monitoring of the scheme execution can assist, detect, and address these difficulties. Thank you so much. This was my presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Venus. So that was in
Thank you
spite
for
of the
taking-
connectivity issues, you were able to present it successfully. So
Thank
that
you
is
so
a
much, ma'am.
yes, thank you. And before we have the chair and the co-chair's remarks, I'd just like to make few announcements. Like the participants are requested, though I put it in the chat box, kindly note the email ID, and you will have to mail your presentations to the mail ID sent to you all. And I request all of you to have your camera on, so we would be able to take a picture, all the participants. Of course, the chair and with the co-chair, chair and the co-chair. Yeah. Uma ma'am. Okay, so we start. I think today's presentations all were very different. I could see a lot of different topics on financial inclusiveness, about criminal women, employer retention in Filipino millennials, and then ethics and accountability in public service. And so we have a very different diverse topics and such interesting ones where it actually gives us it is actually a food for our brain. You know, it is all a very wonderful topics that have been chosen by all the participants. And what I could see is nothing was similar to the other. So everything was different. And kudos to all of you for that. So now I pass on the platform to our chair, Dr. Sabu Thomas, for his remarks.
But Megha, I think before that we can open the platform for questions.
Yes, okay, sir. Any questions you may please pose the participants?
Okay, I have one or two questions.
Yes.
Maybe I'll start from the last presentation. Well, it was a nice presentation because you have a detailed presentation. But well, one or two points I would like to clarify. One is that you are telling that there's an issue for KYC requirement. So it's an issue for this program that there is a strict KYC requirement. But at the same time, we are telling that there is a risk of security and fraud. So if the KYC norms are so lenient, I think the fraud will be, it will be going up. So how we can manage both things together? You want to loosen the KYC, and at the same time you want to avoid risk and ensure security. So how it is possible?
So we can take a midway here because obviously there
I
is
think you got my
less
point.
Yes, sir. So there is less focus on KYC norms because it leads to duplication of accounts, as I said. But again, I suggested that that we have to simplify the KYC requirements because it will using biometric identification can help because most of the people in rural areas, they are illiterate and the paperwork will be reduced to some extent. So I guess this is better if we do this, consider using technology in the so that we can bring the people in the mainframe of doing digital transactions. So we have to use technology in biometric identification so that making and opening an account is quicker and easier.
But
So
I think using biometric authentication needs a lot of technological support. So you are also telling that there is lack of technology. Confusing. So again, well, coming back to your other point. So one or two things you are missing in the presentation. What is the progress of the scheme? Maybe you take from the last 2 or 3 years. Do you have any data with regard to the progress of the scheme?
Sir, in terms of numbers, I haven't done the data. I just collected a theoretical view I took from the beneficiaries that if it can like supplement the needs, like a broader practical perspective. And I didn't calculate the number or the progress like, okay, this much beneficiaries has been benefited from the scheme. I just took the normal or like in layman terms, like what they feel about the scheme. So I haven't done any mathematical thing about this.
Okay, I have a question to my friend from Philippines. So You have presented a very interesting theme. Well, I have just an ethical question. Actually, in our part of the world, a sample is supposed to be a person of adult age. If a person of teenage is not supposed to be a sample. He's supposed to be a child in our side. So what's your situation there? A citizen of old age can be considered as a sample. Your sample comes from 15 to 34 age. And it is also, here we call it child labor.
Sorry,
Am I
sir.
audible?
Can you repeat? The voice is breaking on my end. Can you repeat your question, sir?
My audience problem.
15 to 34. What? Sorry, sir.
So my question is, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
My question is, your samples come from age group 15 to 34. Okay.
That's the population, sir. But our
But
respondents, the minimum age was 18 years old.
My question is, yeah, actually 15 is a child labor age, and only an adult can be taken as a sample research.
Okay.
Only an adult can be taken as a sample.
The 15 to 18 years old was not part of the sample, but it was part of the population because the labor force in the statistics office starts from 15 years old. So that was our population, but the sample size of 400 respondents, there were no 15 years old in our data. The minimum age to answer our survey was 18 years old. Okay, so the 15 to 34 years old, it was just the available statistics for the workforce in our country, which is around 18 million people. That's their classification in the statistics.
So in your country, 15 is working age. So in your country, people can start working at the age of 15?
With the parental consent.
Okay, that's good.
Yes.
And
Sir, in
yeah,
India also, children of 15 years of age can work.
It's not usually practiced, but it is the one in the statistics office. But from what I know, they need a parental consent and you need a special permit from the Department of Labor and Employment if you will employ below 18 years old. So it's a bit complicated. But you can start working at 15. It's just there's a special permit in the Department of Labor and you need the consent of the parents. For our study, we did not include the 15 years old. It starts at 18.
Dr. Meera, I also had a question from Eugene related to his study. Can I go ahead?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Eugene, you were looking at the retention in the millennials. Is it under the scope of your study to highlight why retention is a desirable thing? Like, is that so?
Okay. Based on the reason why we wanted to study about retention is there is always hiring costs, and it is for businesses we need loyal employees. It's very costly if we keep on hiring new employees. We have to train them. Okay, if we are not able to keep our employees, we have additional hiring costs and training costs, and then it's not good for the company or the organization. It's always better if we have loyal employees. Otherwise, we would have to be we have to keep on training additional employees from now and then. That's why we want to learn how to encourage loyal employees in the company.
The reason I'm asking this is because I see the trend in a lot of private enterprises, for the lack of a better word, or for example, in education system, a lot of private universities prefer that their employees leave the institute after some time, because there is also a cost, probably, I'm guessing from their side, a higher cost that they have to give in increments every year, and probably it's cheaper for them to hire new employees? I'm just guessing.
I've heard of that practice, especially for companies that are in financial trouble. But in the long run, if a company is doing well, it is more preferred to have loyal employees. Otherwise, it's very costly to continue hiring and then training again and again.
Thank you, Uti.
I have a question to Reena Kumari. Well, you have presented a topic on ethical challenges and values in public service. Well, that was a nice presentation. But at one or 2 points, I need a clarification. Well, when you talk about ethics, it is actually situational. And at certain points, you are using it legal in terms of ethical. Actually, you talk about the code of conduct in civil service. You mentioned section 139(1). This talks about the public official shall not respond to questions of public policy. Well, again, there is a section 149(2)(e). It's about immoral behavior in public office. So these are some some abstract questions. For example, what is moral and immoral in office? It's like the Secrecy Act. So what is moral or immoral in the Office Act is to be decided by the office chief. And again, response to public policy. So the public official is in a committed bureaucracy, or whatever it is. He's not a machine. He's answerable to public policy because his public policy is a part of that public policy process. Then how we can quote the code of conduct? We should be scrapped out. They are labeled. They are the operators, and they are not machines. They are answerable. That's what I think. So that is not going to be an ethics for the civil servants. What's your take on that?
Sir, please repeat which one code are you asking for?
What I'm telling is that you in your presentation, you are quoting the Civil Service Code, section 139(1).
Yes,
Code
sir.
of conduct. Yeah, it's about the civil servant shall not respond to questions of public policy. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Is that ethical? Because you are seeing the public administrator as a mission. He's a part and parcel of the policy process. He's answerable. He's supposed to answer. So these rules are made by some British people, or maybe in the age of First World War kind of thing. So we have to scrap it out. And section 149(2)(e), immoral behavior in office. So what is to be moral and immoral is not defined here. So you are not wearing a scarf is maybe immoral. You are wearing a pant or t-shirt, it may be immoral. So the legal and the ethical is something different.
Yes, sir, it's different, but it happens that there is moral and immoral behaviors in the offices. So there is need to detect and identify which is going morally and immorally, and if immorally is there.
Yes. Exactly. Until and unless these morals are defined, and it's also difficult to define morals.
Yes, sir.
You cannot open this court. That's what I think. And again, I am talking about national pride and patriotism. It's a matter of legality. It's not ethical. So national pride and patriotism is something emotional. So you're not supposed to go by the dictates of the nation. A civil servant, every citizen is an independent situation. Maybe the nation may be there, but still the issue of patriotism is emotional, not ethical, maybe legal also. So you are mixing ethics with the legality. That's the problem here.
Okay, sir.
Am I right, Reena? I think you got my point.
Yes, sir, you're right, sir.
Yeah. Please check your points before. And my last question is to the presentation on women in criminal women. Okay. So I think you have depend on NCRB data 2021. Okay. But as per the data, let me see. I have seen that there are in your presentation you said that there's only 18 women jails. 18, 18.
Yes.
But NCRB data says that there are 32 women prisons.
Sir,
30, yeah, NCRB data is there. 2021 data is there. 30 plus 2, Delhi has 2 jails. One only jails. And Rajasthan has 7.
I'll
Kerala has
compare.
3.
Yes. You're right. 2021, it says 32 jails in total, which has 3,800 out of the 22,000 women in India. Yes. I think I quoted from 2016 data.
It's 2021 data. Thank you.
Anybody for questions? Ma'am is not seen, I guess. Oh, ma'am is there. Ma'am, Uma ma'am, your questions? Ma'am? Ma'am, you are,
Oh,
you have
yeah,
to.
sorry.
Yes,
Yeah.
Ma'am,
think
I
I
request
really-
you to pose the questions, ma'am, if you
I
have
really
any.
have no questions because I think Chair has asked about some questions that I also had some queries upon. But I wish to just appreciate the efforts of all these young scholars to have taken such a nice topic and wish to have a clarity on the problem that they have taken for inquiry.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Can I just pose a question to few, because I just had while I was just looking onto the presentations. Ms. Mehreen, see, you have spoken about the docile prisoner, right? So I was just a little apprehensive about whether you are criticizing the women or you're criticizing the men, because you bring both into the picture. So, because today is an era where we have, don't mind me saying the rest of the gentlemen here, we have house husbands also, right? Who take up their duty and then, but then owing to the societal pressure and they just move out from their roles and responsibilities, because today women are empowered. So just when you were talking and I was just looking into your slides, I just had a confusion whether you are focusing or you're supporting the women or are you supporting the men folk?
I wouldn't quite put it like that. Actually, docile is the word that I've taken from Michel Foucault's and his Discipline and Punish, in which he says that the form of punishment that we have now, it's not supposed to be as much as penalizing, but it's supposed to create a docile and an obedient public. So I've taken it from there. But if I were to put it in the words that you've used, I would not like to criticize either. Like, there are facets that if there's a masculine system, maybe it also harms the men along with it. For example,
why this question cropped up is because you were talking about Justice Krishna Iyer, right? So you had brought in a statement that what he had quoted. So that is the reason I wanted to ask whether you were supporting the gender. Is it a gender focused presentation that you wanted to put up?
It's a gender focus, but I don't wish to villainize the men. I'm rather looking at the structure and the system itself as an observation that however the system has been made right now, it is supposed to increase the docility in women. While men largely don't have to do much. It's not even showing patriarchy as a problem. So at least we need to recognize and at least accept it right now. That we can't keep on going and saying that empowerment, women have now empowered, everything has happened, we've made IAS, we've made Prime Minister, and here empowerment. While we use this language that, we are lenient towards women, I wanted to show that the system really isn't lenient. In fact, it just tries to hide behind this jargon that it often uses and does not want to identify that while women are committing crime, fine, you need to send them to prison also. That's also fine. But at least try and understand as to why they're committing offenses. Because the larger goal is to vanish crime, not the criminal. So we need to understand the crime as well.
Okay. So you mean to say there is no form of this docility among women here? So why do we consider the women to be docile when you say that I'm not focusing on the men either, villainize the men either, or talk about empowerment? Then why should we talk about the docile women when I too feel that women are empowered today, except for the rural areas where they have to come out, yes. But then why do we have to call them as a docile woman? What made you to call them as a docile woman?
If I were to just look at the prison, I would not, I don't think I am at the position to comment on it largely. I'm a privileged woman. I cannot compare myself. But when I look at prison and I say that there are 32, now stand correctly, there are still some states that do not have women-only jails. And we have a force of where 12% women. So we are putting women under the gaze of man only. If she commits an offense, she'll be arrested by man. There's a study in Chandigarh prison, whereas there's a law that if you arrest a woman, firstly, not before sunrise, and after sunset, you won't arrest her. You won't arrest her without a woman constable present. But most of them are not arrested by women-only constables, and some of them are also arrested in these timings. So I'm arresting her by men. I'm judging her. Men are judging her. Men are making laws at her at the parliament. And then we are sending her to prisons that largely is manned by men. I cannot say woman empowerment. I do not see woman empowerment in these figures. When women want to narrate the incidents, the men will not hear it properly, or the phrases that will come out. For example, we had that very famous incident when in parliament, some minister said that men would be men. Or that some such comments keep on getting passed around. And Me Too, that phenomenon of Me Too that happened a few years ago also taught us something, that the legal system is not coming to aid. The usage of the words, for example, even if I look at rape or any sexual assault, we are changing the terms in our IPC. We are calling it voyeurism, stalking, words that are not used by common people. So even if they want to go and complain about it, the words will not come. It will not match the IPC. And if your jargon is not right, the judge, the inspector, the police will not pay attention. So it may seem to be a very a minute thing, but it has larger implications, I feel.
Okay, thank you so much. Any more questions? So shall we go for the closing remarks, sir? Ma'am?
Yeah.
Okay. So now may I request our chair, Professor Sabu Thomas, to render the closing remarks for the day.
Thank you, Meera.
Yes, sir.
So today we had a very wonderful day with wonderful presentations and wonderful deliberations. So then I start with a presentation by Dr. Vijender Singh Beniwal, Assistant Professor and Head, Government College for Women, Hisar, Haryana. And the presentation was on the topic revisiting ethics and accountability in public service and overview. So, Sir Singh has elaborated the theme, particularly in the context of Indian and Western traditions. As he was bringing in the debate, Frederick Finger, fair debate, and all these things. So, well, it was well received. The second presentation was by Reena Kumari, Scholar, Department of Education, Punjab University, Chandigarh. And the topic was ethical challenges and values in public service. Reena Kumari was, well, she has elaborated her theme, and he brought very clear evidences to establish her thoughts. So it was very novel and interesting. It was followed by the presentation on criminal woman docile prisoner. It was by Mahreen Mansoor, Assistant Professor, University of Petroleum and Energy Studies, Uttarakhand. And yeah. So it was a very nice presentation and spiced with enough data to establish the points. So I feel that it was really interesting and novel. Just followed by a presentation by our from Philippines, Eugene Jerome Carol is from De La Salle University, Manila. The topic was keeping millennial employees, factors that affect employee retention among Filipino millennials. So he has developed his theme through an interesting sample, and well, the findings very interesting, and well, thank you for that. And the last presentation was by
Dr. Anil Kumar,
yes,
who had done through Ms. Venus.
Reena Kumar, Vijayendra Singh Miniwal, Reena Kumari,
Dr. Anil Kumar, sir. Dr. Anil Kumar. His
I think he
presentation
will
was
do-
done by, no, his presentation was done by Ms. Venus.
Okay. That's why I was confused. I
Yeah.
was not seeing Venus in the. So, Dr. Anil Kumar from Department of Public Administration, University School of Open Learning, Punjab University, Chandigarh. And well, the presentation was on Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, a policy for social equity and financial inclusiveness. So she has touched the theme very interestingly, and has gone through all the details. And thank you for that. And all the presentation and yeah, the participants made that great. And I hope that this kind of webinars will become a success because of not only because of the presentation, but because of the questions being asked and the live participation. So I congratulate all the presenters and thank you for being here. And I have a special thanks for Dr. Meera for operating this platform very interestingly. So thank you, Meera. And I think that, Madam, yeah, you are not offering any comments.
Next, she would be.
Are you still in the office?
Yes, sir. May I now request Dr. Uma Maheshwari, the Head Department of Public Affairs of Public Administration, University of Madras, to give the closing remarks.
Our co-chair has done its full responsibility, has diagnosed it, and has given his comments as to where lies the issues and what kind of doubts he has. I think having watched that and listened to the speakers, the presenters, and the questions posed by both the moderator and the chair, I think that research is always ongoing. It's a continuous process, and you can never say that what we find today or what we feel today is the result is really the fact. I just feel that it was very enriching to see that all of them have taken a very interesting topic, and they have used the tools, they have their own point of view. Probably what I wish is that that we continue to work in the same pace and use much more tools to see whether we can really generalize the findings, whether these findings can be really acceptable to everyone, because we are talking about having a common consensus. Like one of us feedback because gender means whether this way or that way. But why are we not able to have, and like in science, why are we not having an acceptance? Okay, this is what is the universal fact. So probably I think this particular session was where we did have differences, and the presenters were all quite confirmed about what they have done, what kind of directions they have taken their research. And end of it, I have a mixed opinion that I feel that we will continue to meet each other in the various other occasions. And I request that all these presenters have gone to the next level of inquiry and providing better for themselves and to the society, more clarity on the problem that they have pictures. Thank you for really conducting this session so lively, Dr. Meera Kumar, and all the presenters. It was nice knowing you, meeting you, and listening to you, and also have a dynamic chair, Thomas sir, who has literally gone line by line to the presentation of every speaker and post his comments, not critical comments, rather comments, and his remarks on the presentation. So thank you one and all again.
Thank you, ma'am. Those words of yours were very lovely. And I'm sure all the participants would have taken it, because this is actually a platform where we could gain a lot of knowledge, especially each one of us staying in different states. So there is a confluence of data and a sharing of knowledge from the North. That is, I think this is a platform where the North and the South meet,
Yeah, sure.
and yeah. And then
Yes,
apart
that's
from,
also.
yes, ma'am. And apart from that, we also had a presentation from the Philippines also. So that is something really good. So thank you so much. I actually felt there was a lot of involvement of knowledge sharing here and gaining also. So thank you once again to all of you. Can we take a picture so that this will be saved in our records? Can I have all the participants' camera on, please? Okay, that's nice. That's it. I don't see Venus. Miss Venus is there? She's not there. Dr. Anil Kumar is also not there. Okay, so let's proceed. So should I say cheese or butter?
No, like dinner time, so we're both together.
Okay. Okay. So we go for a smile. I take a click. I'm clicking the picture. Thank you, all of you. Done. Thank you so much. We'll meet again. We do not know. The world is very small. We do not know where we are going to meet in future. So with all those expectations, I wish you all a very good night and have a wonderful sleep.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Meera.
you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.